All right. We are live. Hello. Welcome to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast. I am Otto, and tonight I'm joined with Jared Schneiderman,
Hey guys.
K Wags, Kyle Wagner,
Hey, everybody.
Nikki Pinecone,
What it be, yo?
Alex Schlegel. Oh, so you're not the MDMA anymore on demand?
Little MK Ultra anymore.
Oh, Lil K Ultra. That's right.
No.
What's
up,
we
guys?
we have special guest Kate Fantinel from all the way in Perth, Australia. Well, she's not in Perth right now, but she's from Perth. So actually, I think that's one of my favorite hardcore bands, Miles Away. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're from Perth, I believe.
Yes.
They're awesome. But yeah, so thanks for coming on. You're in Philadelphia.
Yes.
What are you doing around in Philadelphia? What are you up to?
Well, I'm not sure how much Australian news you lovely people have been following, but my country closed its international border for 2 years. So we weren't allowed to leave, and not very many people were allowed to enter. My state of Western Australia closed our state border for most of that time as well. So I wasn't allowed to leave my state to visit my family who live across the border in South Australia. And at a point in time, we weren't allowed to leave our homes. We had lockdowns as well. So this is my first international trip in 2.5 years. And I've come to your beautiful country. This is my 4th visit over here because I love it so much. I'm in Philadelphia at the moment doing all the Freedom and Liberty Trail stuff. So it's actually so good to be here. I'm so happy. And thank you for having me on your show.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Glad
Well,
you
if
escaped
you're
the prison colony.
Yes. That's how we started, and that's where we are now. It's quite sad. I actually despair for my country, but we can get into that a little bit later. I don't want to go too heavy too soon.
Oh,
Well,
hey now.
I'll go heavy and say that if you really want to see why America's beautiful, Philadelphia ain't the place to be. In fact, I'd stay the hell away from any of the major metropolitan centers.
Yeah,
Go find someone who lives in the country.
Coming from a guy that's from Cleveland, but anyway.
I'm not from Cleveland. I'm from upstate New
digress.
York, and where I'm from kicks ass. Unfortunately, New York State politics is what it is.
So you posted a picture. You checked out the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall today.
Yes, that's what I've been doing today. I was in DC earlier this week, and that is me in the taxes theft dress storming the Capitol. I bought that dress all the way from Australia in my luggage. I wore it for my campaign launch in Australia because I ran for the Senate. So I thought I'd come here and stir shit up and have some fun while I'm on my vacation.
So, quick question. Now, maybe this is just me. I feel like Otto should probably be on board, but do you just like hear Elton John singing Philadelphia Freedom, like pumping in your head while you're in Philadelphia?
Is it Freedom or is it George Michael's Freedom?
No, it's Philadelphia Freedom. It's a great Elton John song.
That's Elton John.
Philadelphia Freedom.
I don't know. We are on the CERN timeline, so who knows? It could be either or.
Yeah, the CERN definitely could be messing with us right now. We'll never know.
Did George Michael turn out to be the actual lead singer for Queen?
I don't think so. I'm not really versed in that. I'm a punk rock. I thought this was a punk rock libertarian podcast. I didn't do my research on classic rock.
Look, Elton John was
we're a bunch of
gay
weirdos.
and hillbilly way back before it was cool. So that's much more punk rock than that.
Otto and Nikki P have boomer tendencies, so
I'm total boomer.
Yeah, you're checking out some bands while you're over here, correct?
Yes, I was just saying before the show. So I've kind of based my holiday on what bands I want to see because bands couldn't come to Australia either. So we were deprived of that for 2 years. So I've kind of planned my tour based on who's playing. I'm going up to Boston to see Alexis on Fire this Thursday night and then down to New York to see them again Saturday because I love them so much. And they broke up and now they're back together. So I've got to see them while they're still together. I'm also going to Sad Summer Festival in Cincinnati. So I'm very excited to be at a festival again because it's been about 3 years now. And yeah, just going to have a
sad as in sudden adult death syndrome fest? Or sad?
I don't know if that's the acronym. I think it's more like a take on the emos, not dead stuff.
I promise you, emo's dead.
Yeah.
So Australia and Canada were like, to me, they were like neck and neck for the most tyrannical lockdown. policies. I don't know which one. Maybe in Europe there was some bad ones too.
I don't know. China kind of got up there towards the end there, right?
Yeah, China's
China's
I
out
would say
there
China
in the running.
Wait
All
a
right.
minute. You're saying they got near to the end. They started with welding people in their
Yeah,
homes.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna say,
got
I
there
remember
at
from the
end.
get-go.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So do they still have mask mandates in Australia, or is this like, did you bring your mask? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, so they're actually talking right now about bringing back mask mandates in my home state, or my state where I live, Western Australia. They're also the only state that mandated the vaccine for 75% of the workforce. And they also mandated that they had to have 3 injections, not just 2. They're also talking about mandating the 4th injection. So it's been quite a rough few years. We also had the vaccine passport, which was government mandated. So all private businesses had to check vaccination status, and you needed to have 3 injections to go to the pub or cafe. At one stage, you couldn't even buy liquor or go to the bottle shop without showing your
And you're
vaccination
considering return
status, which we're talking about a legal product that in Australia 18-year-olds can buy. They stopped us from accessing that unless we showed our vaccine passport. But interestingly, you could still buy cigarettes. So I'm not quite sure how the health advice worked on that one. But at one stage, my state, Western Australia, was the only region in the world that was closed off apart from North Korea. So it's been quite a tough few years, and that's why I ran for the Senate, to try and wake people up and realize that this is not okay. In Australia, we didn't have to fight for our freedom and liberties like you guys did. It was handed to us on a platter. So we don't appreciate it. And I'm very scared. We're marching towards tyranny and even socialism. Like the leftist vote was up at this election, up to 20%. So Australia is changing, and Canada, New Zealand, like these great liberal democracies, they're not like that anymore. So I'm going to do what I can to educate people, and that's why I'm here as well, to learn more about your history and liberty, and how I can sell that message, because people are still asleep and people turn to the government to help them instead of put personal responsibility. So that's the culture that we now have in Australia, which we never used to have. We used to be, no worries, mate, like everything will be fine, like help a mate out. It's not like that anymore. And it's quite sad to me that that's the future. That is not the future I want for my country.
Okay, well, there's about 150 years worth of reading. I got a good list for you. And the most important part of it's going to be the last 20 years involving ESG scores. And that's why everything's fucked up. If you can get everybody in your country to read that 150 years worth of stuff, you should be okay.
Okay.
We've not been successful here in the U.S., obviously.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
But
Yeah.
well, it really flipped my stereotypes about Australia on their head, because I always thought of Australia as sort of like the wild, the outback, very independent people, just very freedom-loving people. I just could not believe how fearful everyone became down there.
they let 'em make the guns, bro.
Like it's our stereotypes are based on movies like Crocodile Dundee
Yeah.
and the Crocodile Hunter. So I figured it's a lot of crocodiles and kangaroos and kind of the wild west of the southern hemisphere.
Kyle's just racist against Australia.
I know.
What I think
Americans
a
are very
wallaby ate
insular.
my baby.
We're very insular. We don't really know what the heck's
You're
going
insular.
on a lot of times outside of our border, and I'm not immune to that. Like I think Australia is cool, but I just was really surprised at how strict they were with the lockdowns. I saw police breaking up. Someone was having like an outdoor fitness class in their yard, and the police like broke it up and made arrests. And these people are outside getting fresh air and exercising, which is one of the best things you can do to protect yourself against COVID. And they're like breaking it up. It just, I don't know, it was horrible. But did you say you were locked in your house for a period of time?
Yeah, so as part of our lockdowns, they restricted us from going outside to only 1 hour per day. And there were incidents of people having picnics, like socially distancing, putting the mask on in between, having a drink of beer, all that crap that we had to do. And police would literally be watching the clock, and if it went over an hour, they would raid a picnic, like an outdoor picnic. Another incident that happened in my state is someone went surfing during the lockdown when we would like the stay-at-home lockdown, so you weren't allowed to leave at all. He went surfing for his mental health and to get outside, and he got arrested. So the government overreach and handling of the pandemic in my country has just been shocking. There were protest freedom rallies that I attended, and I spoke at quite a few. In Victoria, Melbourne, there was scenes of police firing rubber bullets at protesters. Interestingly, a few weeks later, they had Black Lives Matter protests, but they were fined. It was just the freedom rally protests were, meant to be a super spreader event, which it wasn't, but they just didn't agree with the message. So they shut that protest down, but not something like the Black Lives Matter. So yeah, it's been a crazy 2.5 years, and it's really good to be out of the country and just enjoying a country that values liberty and freedom, because Australians just don't.
Well, not everyone here does. Don't get your hopes too high, because we definitely have a lot of tyrants here as well. I did want to say, so the Republican Party historically was the conservative party, and the more likely to be authoritarian followers, the more likely to be strict. But through COVID, it was really weird what happened. The Democrats were, definitely more COVID restrictive, and so it's actually been coming from the left, and the Republicans have actually been the ones to push back more and say, against the mandates and against the masks and against the vaccines. So it's just, it's a very strange flip. Is it like that in Australia? Do your left and right sort of mirror our left and right?
The left and right in Australia have merged into one. They are both as bad as each other. They were both terrible on their COVID stuff. They're economically irresponsible. We're approaching $1 trillion debt in Australia, which doesn't sound like much compared to your debt, but for us,
that sounds
huge.
Amazing.
Well, we could pay that off in a month.
So our left and right have merged into one, and they were both partisan about the vaccine mandates, closing the border, the handouts, the welfare. That's still going on now. They've just brought back, because if you catch COVID in Australia at the moment, you have to stay home for 7 days. So the government is now paying people to stay home for 7 days, even if they have mild symptoms and all of that. So unfortunately, there's not really any opposition to that in Australia. And like I said, the Green vote or the leftist vote did go up. So there's more voices in Parliament that, like the AOCs of the world, they're in Australian parliaments now. Libertarianism is growing. It is a growing movement. I had the highest result in 10 years in my state for the Senate, but it wasn't enough to get me over the line. But I just think Australia has to learn the hard way. They're going to have 3 years of a left-leaning government with these socialist influence, and
well, if you're lucky, because
Sri
Lanka couldn't take what their government did to them. I don't know if anybody's been following that.
Yeah, the pool party, man. We had that. We were spotlighting that last episode. So, do you guys have a Libertarian Party? Is that what you're running under, or is it some other group?
Yeah, so there is a Libertarian Party of Australia. We're called the Liberal Democrats because we literally believe in liberal democracies, but we're going through a process of changing our name now because it's really confusing, because we have the American Democrats and then liberal to you guys means something different. So it's actually very confusing for voters in Australia. It is mandatory voting in Australia, so we have to vote, which we're against, obviously. So you have to. If you don't vote in Australia, you get fined.
What?
How much do you get fined?
You get a fine, yes.
How much?
It's about $200.
Jeez.
What the fuck?
Well, that's what is that in American money?
About
in
200.
Fed notes.
Might be a little less than 200.
Can you just go in and write in Mickey Mouse or whatever?
136
Well, that's what they
USD.
do. But see, that's the problem. That's how we get these people that don't value their vote. So they don't do their research. They just go in and vote for someone with the greatest sounding name. And then suddenly you're in this situation where these people making decisions that affect your everyday life are in Parliament, because Australians are so laid back that they don't take, well, not everybody, I'm generalizing, but the average voter doesn't do their research, and they're not politically engaged. So that's the problem that we have with our voting system, is you have uneducated voters who are making really big decisions, and it affects the rest of us. So that we have that against us.
I'm disappointed you're changing your name. I'm familiar with the Liberal Democrats, and they're actually using the name correctly, the word liberal, and I mean that's you know,
I don't know about Democrat though.
Yeah. It's actually
That's not libertarian.
Well, I mean, it's
democracy. I mean,
it's the God that failed, Kyle.
I mean, democracy is one of the pillars of Mises's liberalism. So, I mean, I consider myself a liberal Democrat in the technical, you know, we vote for our representatives as opposed to having appointed authoritarians. That's a key pillar of the philosophy. Now, if you if you're a quote unquote libertarian or an anarchist, then you don't subscribe to democracy. But you know, for a small government person like myself, that's a big thing, and it's very important that we have the freedom to vote and to change our leaders. You know, when they suck.
Well,
we
actually
real awesome for you.
I just have to say we actually legally have to change our name, because the equivalent of the Republican Party in Australia is called the Liberal Party. And they actually passed legislation during COVID, when they should have been focusing on other things, that required us to change our name, because they were like, we're here first, you guys have to change your name. So we don't have a choice. Like, it's very hard in Australia as a minor party, a small party, to get ahead when you've got the two major parties, left and right, joining together to keep voices like mine and other Liberal Democrats out of the system. The system is rigged against us.
What are the two big parties?
Potential names, like name changes to the party? Can we?
I suggested Lady Liberty's Guns, Drugs, and Nuclear Party.
Nice.
So that's what I'm campaigning for. But no, I'm not sure. Libertarian Party has been discussed, because we are libertarians. We do have some more conservative people in our groups, and anarchists too. But I'm not sure. I can't give you the scoop. Sorry.
Boogaloo Party, maybe.
11-inch Black Justice.
Wow.
The big luau.
What's the other major party? I'm sorry, I don't even know.
The Labour Party.
So you got Liberal and Labor.
Yeah, so Labour is like your Democrats, and Liberal is like your Republican.
Well, I'm assuming it's like Europe, though, where it's like Republicans minus guns.
Republicans minus guns.
Republicans are pro-gun here.
Well,
they're not as pro-gun as libertarians, but they are on paper more pro.
Only during campaign season they're pro.
Yeah, during campaign season, yeah.
Well, I actually campaigned on guns in Australia as part of my campaign, because I'm a shooter. I'm a pistol shooter. I grew up in a farm, so I've been around guns my whole life, even though it's very hard to get a gun in Australia.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, we don't have a Second Amendment. We actually don't have many rights at all, which is scary to think about, but that's the reality. So in Australia, you have to prove why you need a gun. You have to go through a whole training process. You can't, even if you break. So, for example, if you get a speeding fine, they can take away your gun, because that it's like this fit and proper person thing that they hold over your heads the whole time. Safe storage as well, so the police can come into your home at any time and check to make sure that your ammunition is being kept separately from your firearm.
They know from a list, like they know you're a gun owner, so they can come and randomly just, hey, we're just checking, making sure your gun is separate from your ammo and locked up. Jeez, that's crazy.
And speaking of gun lists, so we had a situation similar to what happened in California, where our police minister gave the addresses of registered firearm owners to the media. So they published that. Like, they published the map on the front page of our newspaper showing where licensed firearm owners live. And we've had, since that happened, we've had numerous break-ins, numerous thefts, and stolen firearms, because this government in my state wants to take away our guns. They're pretty obvious about that.
Did something prompt that? Was there a shooting or
no?
They just
no. It was just part of have guns.
Tyrant each other. Yeah.
Well, just recently, that sounds very familiar. May issue. Just 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court ruled because in the state of Maryland, where most of us live, it was a ruling against New York, because New York has the very similar, in order to issue a handgun, it's a may issue state, or may issue when it comes to concealed carry. So there were 7 other states, so that affects Maryland. But all of these laws sound very similar to the shittiest states when it comes to gun laws in the United States. And the same situation just recently happened in California. California being one of those may issue states where gun owners were doxxed, just like you said, Kate. And it's like, what the fuck? So basically, Australia set up the blueprint for the shittiest states in the United States when it comes to gun laws, from what it sounds like.
Well, no, in general, I mean, you ask anyone in New York City, all those blue places, they're pissed we're not Europe. And where we just keep telling them to fucking move to Europe and go be the place they want to be and stop making our place into a shithole. You know, they don't take that.
Is there a black market in guns with them being illegal?
Well, we had an incident in 1996 called the Port Arthur Massacre, where 35 people were shot in Tasmania, which was a catalyst for these gun laws that we have now. So we never used to have it this restrictive. It used to be you could go to Kmart and buy a firearm if you're an adult, that kind of thing, like you guys have. But after that, they took all that away. And ever since then, it's just been erosion of that. And it's harder and harder. And they deter people from getting a firearm in Australia. And like I said, we don't have a right to self-defense at all. We can't even own pepper spray. That's an illegal product. So
what's violent crime like? What's violent crime like? Assaults and...
In my state, it's not too bad. But if someone came into my home, for example, I have no way to defend myself, and it's the equal force rule. So if someone punches me, I can punch them back. But obviously, if like a 6 foot tall big guy punches me, my equal force is not a punch. So that's why I'm very passionate about self-defense, especially for young women and the elderly, because it's the equalizer. So the gun is the equalizer.
So if you grabbed like a knife and stabbed an intruder and he was unarmed, I would be
the one in trouble, not him.
What the fuck?
Well, you're still better than some places over here, so be happy about that. Because in places like New York City, you have a duty to retreat law.
Well, same in Maryland.
Until someone comes after you with a gun, you have to run away. You're not allowed to fight back.
Yeah, it's the same thing in Maryland, but you just put a little steak knife on them,
So at least you're allowed to
that's what the guy who sold me the gun. The guy who sold me my gun, he was like, hey, listen, if you ever shoot like a home invader, get one of your knives from your upstairs kitchen and put it in his hand and his body, like, and just tell the cops that's the guy who sold me the shotgun. I was like, that's brilliant. Like, good job.
Are you allowed to have a bow, like a compound bow or a crossbow or something like that?
Some states you are, some states it's illegal. Okay. So in my state, it's illegal to go hunting with a bow and arrow.
How about large quantities of fertilizer? She said she grew up with farming and shit, man. I'm just asking. You do what you gotta do, what you got available.
They actually put limits they put limits on how much much ammo you can possess. So there's ammo restrictions as well. It's not good in Australia. I would love if America could come and help us. Please save us. I'm begging you.
How are 3D printing?
So 3D printing isn't as big as I think it is over here at the moment. There are laws about like banning that. In fact, in my state, they've made it illegal this is their solution to the problem.
Shocking.
They've banned people from possessing schematic drawings of firearms. So they've basically banned books which has the firearm and which parts you need to replace.
So do they come and investigate that too? Do they come to your house?
They'll go through your bookshelves.
Let me see all your books.
This is what they're talking about now, because they're looking at making things harder for us. And that's one of their suggestions, is to ban schematic drawings of firearms, which would make firearm books literally illegal.
Or just like files on your computer, right? I imagine that would be covered under.
Yes.
Wow.
And it sounds like you still plan on going back?
Yeah.
I don't want to go back.
Why?
Stay here.
Let me stay here in refuge. I've been in DC this week, and I've been telling everybody, like, I would love to come here and live here and learn more about how you guys did things and how you stand up to this kind of government overreach and take that back to Australia, because I feel like there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from your beautiful country in terms of liberty and freedom and fighting for that. So I would love to live here, just saying that now, but no one has to marry me. I want to get a job and move here myself.
You don't want the U.S. to come rescue Australia. Did you see what we did to Iraq?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want us to intervene.
And
you
Libya.
You got to get there yourself.
We were there with you, so
Yeah,
true.
I know.
Or we could
And
be, or we could be
Australians
like,
they committed
like-
some serious war crimes too. I
we could be
remember that
saving
report a
you
few
like-
years ago.
like Ukraine right now, where we send you a bunch of money to fight somebody you're not going to win against. That could be done too.
All you need is a few good Nazis, right? Get them in power, and then have them fight against someone the United States is mad at, and then we'll arm the shit out of you. All the Nazis you can think of, we'll fill their up to the coffers, completely fill
Is
weapons
that like
and
the-
munitions.
Sounds like a bad plan.
Movie? A Few Good Nazis.
A few good Nazis.
Okay, you totally blew our hopes to maybe have a PRL fundraiser to get you a green card, but guess not.
Oh.
Highest bidder, but well, there goes that fundraiser.
For your Senate campaign, I think I would have focused on COVID stuff,
Yes,
instead
we
of
did as well. Yes.
instead of guns. I would have just been all, anti-mandate, anti-mask, and you would have picked up any resistance to that stuff. People would have just flocked to you. Just be like a single issue. Like if you run again, well, it's too late now. I guess that ship has kind of sailed. But at the heat of it, that would have been a good campaign to just be like, look, I'm the anti-lockdown, anti-mandate person.
Well, no, but
Yeah,
she said
well,
they're bringing them back. Like the masks are
I
coming
did
back.
run on COVID alarmism and overreach, and I did talk about those issues. But Australians, like I said before, we've never had to fight for our freedoms, and we turn to the government to save us. So that's the culture that we are fighting against. And there were freedom parties, I call them freedom parties, that were running. It wasn't just the Liberal Democrats. There were other groups as well who were campaigning on that COVID overreach. And like the vote was up. It was at about 15% of the vote was towards those kind of parties. But people in Australia are genuinely scared still. They bought into the fear porn. They're still buying into the fear porn. They still think the government can keep them safe because we have never had to fight for our freedom. So we don't appreciate it.
What's your literacy rate?
Literacy rate?
I mean, clearly they can't read anything because all of the science says it's all bullshit at this point.
Well, the
So-
media is
good
to
luck.
blame as well. The media don't give voices like mine any airplay at all, except for my guns
Well,
campaign.
even
I
Fauci,
tweeted
like here in our
against
country,
China.
admitted it's bullshit like last week.
Yeah.
Robert Higgs wrote a book called Crisis and Leviathan, which is about how governments use a crisis to expand, right?
Mhm.
And it was like, this has been a perfect demonstration of how that works, because this was a crisis and every government in the world was like, all right, time to jump into action. They all took advantage of COVID to expand their reach. Just like here, and they took advantage of 9/11 to put in the TSA. So we have these like really restrictive travel, this travel security. And I was flying this weekend, and I was saying, in the 90s, we didn't have TSA. We didn't have all these federal bureaucrats at the airports that you had to go through all this security. It's like once they put it in place, then they just leave it in place forever. They never shrink. And anyway,
Well-
and you don't get those liberties back. Like it's super annoying.
Well, what's worse than that is, and I'm sure you'll relate to this being from Australia, is that psychologically, I can never explain to my daughter what it felt like in the 90s, prior to the Patriot Act, prior to all the shit that's come down during COVID.
Yeah.
I have no way to explain how that freedom actually felt. Like I genuinely feel oppressed over all the crap that's happened in the last 20 years. But how do you articulate that in a way? Because they've grown up under this is just normal for them. They don't understand just the little differences socially and culturally, how freeing those can be.
Yeah, even this mask stuff, I'm looking at the impact on children, and they've lost 2 years of schooling because they were shut down during the pandemic as well. and wearing these masks. They're saying that the speech impediments are on the rise, and they're more quiet because of wearing that over your face. Like, it's child cruelty, quite frankly.
Isn't it real hard to homeschool in Australia too?
Yes, it's really difficult to homeschool. So there's so much government overreach that people that don't have any other options. So we are genuinely oppressed.
On the positive, for me, my kid is homeschooled, so she should be doing way better compared to most people in the world at this point. She doesn't have those 2 years she was held back, so hopefully that works well in the job market for her.
But yeah, it is going to create a generation of it's just going to be different. And even the debt that I was talking about before, the $1 trillion debt that the next generation is going to be saddled with, like, that's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night, which might sound a bit sad, but I despair for the future of my country, and that we are walking into tyranny and socialism. And I'm here screaming and trying to do everything I can to educate people, but it's going to be a long process, and we're going to learn the hard way.
Well, maybe it's just the fat guy in me, but it's not the debt that keeps me up. It's the mealworms.
That you'll eat bugs.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I ain't
that guy
bugs.
wants a steak.
Sorry, Klaus. Sorry, Santa Claus. I am not.
Ultimately, I think
Not eating the bugs.
I think it's going to be the agriculture and the farm stuff. Like, I don't think they're pushing that on this generation yet. So I think we might
see
get.
They're laying the groundwork.
Oh no, they're trying.
But
I do not see the American people taking that. I think
Kate,
it's our bridge too far.
Kate, you said you're a farmer. Like, you worked on a farm, or did you see like a lot of like uprisings in Australia? Was there like trucker uprisings, farmer uprisings, like against this World Economic Forum agenda that seems to be happening all across the world?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm, so from the outback, and yeah, I'm seeing so the new federal government just brought in a law to ban live export. So some of my family that have sheep and cattle and export it to third world countries, to feed them, because that's the right thing to do. They're going to lose their businesses because it's very hard to transport animals to a country that doesn't have refrigeration or freezers on the other end. So this is the kind of thing that people are doing to us at the moment, is just bringing in these crazy laws. We didn't have the trucker uprising that Canada did, or the freezing of the bank accounts, thank God, but it could still happen. There's still time. Like I said, they're talking about bringing back mask mandates. I mean, quite frankly, I don't even know if I can get back into the country. They could close the border at any minute.
No, I'm curious about...
Seriously, yeah.
Seriously, yes.
Do you have news of, say, what's going on in Sri Lanka and the Netherlands in your country currently? Like, how is that being shown in your media?
Yes, we do, but it's shown as the extremist.
Mm-hmm.
Same with these freedom protests around the world. This is the far right, and I'm standing at the protests. There were no far right people there that I saw at all. But it's the media manipulation of the message, and they are just as much to blame as the government, especially in my country, for what they did. They scared people, and they are still continuing to scare people. Just before I was looking at the news in Perth, and they're saying, infection rates are the highest it's ever been. And it's like, well, who cares about infection rates? It's mortality rates and hospitalization.
If I don't get sick, why do I care?
Yeah,
right.
Well... We need to move on, but the government is holding on to that fear and, trotting out the whole, this person died and they were the healthiest person in the world. It's like,
look, me and Otto fucking
tired.
survived.
I'm so fatigued. I have COVID fatigue.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were just
from the government.
They were just psyoping people every day, and it's just so obnoxious. And even to this day, pretty much, well, except for Nikki P, all of us are sports fans, and it's we're just trying to enjoy sports
so hard.
And just every day, it seems like this COVID scare tactics are just constantly psyoping us every day.
I am holding out hope that it ends all professional sports. But,
well, this is the thing. This was pretty, I don't know if Jared, if you want to bring it up, but this was pretty base. You're up in Philadelphia, but one of the Philadelphia Phillies catchers came out against the COVID because he couldn't travel to Canada to play the Toronto Blue Jays. because he's not vaxxed. He didn't accept the vaccine into his life. And it's just so sad. I just want to turn on sports, turn my brain off and listen to sports. And they're shaming this guy because of what he did. And it's disgusting. I'm fucking tired of this. I have COVID fatigue.
I guess, you know, like
Listen to
some
this.
people would say you're letting your team down. Teammates have supported you, though. So, how do you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, it's an extremely unfortunate situation. Obviously, my teammates know how I feel about them and how bad I want to be out there with them. But it's just unfortunate that I'm not able to make the trip.
What are your reservations with the team?
I'm a healthy 31-year-old professional athlete that I just didn't feel the need to get it. I've had COVID a couple of times and super mild symptoms back when it first came out. And when it came time to decide whether I needed a vaccine or not, talked with a couple of doctors that I knew and told them my story and just really decided I didn't think I needed it. And I wasn't going to take it just because I was told to, basically. So.
Even if they're not necessarily, because you're going to forfeit a good amount of salary.
Yeah, but I mean, what's money when I'm not going to let Canada tell me what I do and don't put in my body for a little bit of money? It's just not worth it.
Right.
Base.
That's it right there.
Yeah, and they're just like, so they lost those 2 games up in Toronto, and I'm turning on the sports radio, and they're just like, JT Realmuto, he let the team down because he didn't get vaxxed, and it's just like, shut the fuck up. And they're still talking about it, and it's like, God damn it, I can't even escape to sports and enjoy that aspect.
It's funny how the unvaxxed guy, when he's missing, the team loses, but when all the vaccinated people are there, they're you know, they can't.
Well, no,
it's really sorry, I don't know if you guys saw, but we didn't let Novak Djokovic into Australia because
right.
I saw that.
Now he's just won Wimbledon. Don't Australia look so fucking stupid sometimes? Like, I'm actually embarrassed.
Well, they're keeping him out of New York now too for the U.S. Open in August. So
because he's such a biological hazard, he is such a threat. We better not let him in the country. It's just
but the thing is at this point, it's been fucking shown statistically the vaccines don't do dick about spread, so it doesn't fucking matter, vaccinated or not. It's not changing anything.
But see, that's the problem. Fauci said he gave his little interview. He came out from his little rock.
Said it doesn't spread.
He said the first he led off with the interview saying it doesn't stop the spread. But then, like 5 minutes later, says, "Oh, well, we need to get these 60% of Americans. We need to get their booster, and we can help stop spreading, stop the spread." And I'm like, what?
But you just said it doesn't do anything to that.
You just said it didn't. But these people are so stupid. They hear the last thing that you say, and that's all that matters. I'm telling you, people crave this authoritarian shit.
I'm gonna be honest.
They love it. They eat it up, man.
I'm loving the fact. I'm loving that dude. Like, maybe I misinterpreted what he said, but part of it was like, look, it sounded like the subtext was, look, I'm not going to let my fucking government tell me what to get. I'm sure as hell not letting Canada's government tell me what the fuck to put in my body.
Right. He's like, get the fuck out. Yeah, exactly. He's like, fuck you. Like, I'll take the fine and miss 2 games and lose $250,000. And because they're trying to shame him, like, oh, you're let your team down and you're going to lose a lot of money. So they were trying to like shame him for vaxxing, shame him for being a bad teammate, and then trying to pull that like class warfare, like, you're $1 million athlete, you're going to give up $250,000 because you don't want to accept the science.
Wait, he gets fined $250,000?
No, he just said he'll lose the money on the game.
Yeah, he lost like 2 game checks, and I think was so it was like, it came out to be like $260,000. So
worth it for me. It would be worth it for me. If I could afford it.
They don't talk about it, but these guys like Novak Djokovic and that guy, these guys are like top level athletes. They're very sensitive to anything that could potentially have any health risks or give them a heart condition or any kind of side effects. That's their body is their liveward. So they have
we got a good comment here from Matt. I'll show you this one, guys.
You unclicked it.
Oh no.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
When is PRL getting the cricket snack sponsorship?
Look, so here's the thing about that.
Unless
what is cricket snacks?
First off,
we'll eat the bugs.
First off,
I will send you a picture. They're putting crickets in snacks,
dude.
to
No,
start grooming people.
Crickets are delicious.
Cricket to me is one of our national sports. So I was thinking,
that's how I took it at first too. But he's talking
we don't have
about
that in this country.
Look, so
Australian rules football's better.
I'll be the guy that says crickets are fucking delicious. I love them.
Dude, yeah.
But you don't get to fucking tell me I don't get to eat meat too.
Nick's the Klaus Schwab plant.
Yeah, you never had like chocolate covered crickets when you were little?
No.
Dude, it's like chocolate covered peanuts. That's what they taste like.
Yeah, well, it tastes like
good for you.
It tastes like
you
a
and your
you will eat some bugs, but not us.
I've done salted, dry roasted crickets. I got no problem. The point is, you don't get to tell me I don't get to fucking eat steak.
That's a little sus, Nick. It's a little sus.
I'll sprinkle my crickets on my fucking steak.
There you go. Like
Double
Cricket Bay.
Salt Bay that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, our athletes in Australia, they were part of the mandate, the vaccine mandate, so they didn't have a choice. And one player of AFL in my state, he refused to get it, and it got he lost his job. So that's how they did it to people. They threatened them with their livelihoods, and then we weren't allowed to travel internally, let alone internationally, unless we were vaxxed.
Well,
and because it got to this stage for me that because my family is from South Australia, which is across the border, and I hadn't seen them for nearly 2 years, and my grandmother, who was 96, got really sick. So it got to the point where my family was saying to me, we want you to come here. We need you to come here. But there were no exemptions from the mandate. So I don't know if it was the same here, but the government weren't even acknowledging religious reasons for not getting it, or even animal activists who don't like that it's been tested on animals. They didn't give exemptions for anything. It was so hard to get an exemption from getting this fucking injection.
My exemption is called sudden adult death syndrome.
Yeah, it was very luckily. I mean, some people were put in some shitty positions, but it wasn't nearly as bad as some of these other countries. But pretty much, I think everybody knows someone that, or know that they had to make a compromise, that they were kind of forced up against the wall in some situation, and were forced to make a decision. Yeah.
Coercion. They backed us into a corner with our jobs. Even going out in public in my state, you couldn't go to pubs, you couldn't go to restaurants, gyms, the bottle shop. They kept making the net even tighter on us, to the point where people mental health is something that I'm actually genuinely scared about for the future, because we haven't seen the long-term impact of this yet. So
yeah, you have. Haven't you been on TikTok?
Yeah,
the long-term impact is bad.
Yeah, have you logged on to Libs of TikTok lately? Jesus.
Well, kudos to the holdouts, because the social pressure was intense. There was pressure with your job and everything, your family. So the few people that haven't gotten it yet, I mean, I give them kudos. I'm amazed, because it's really been overwhelming pressure. I mean, my father was asking me every week, "Did you get it yet? Did you get it? Did you get it yet?" And then once my job mandated it, I was like, "All right, am I going to quit my job, which is a good job?" And unfortunately, I didn't. I was like, "I'm going to get it." I at the time was really concerned about COVID, and I was like, "Well, it's definitely not worth losing my job over." And so I got it. But I mean, I give credit to the people that have been able to hold out. And sorry I folded.
Did you get the first one?
You have to feel like that. See, that's horrible too, that people feel like they betrayed their principles. But that's what they did to us. And I'll never forgive them. And I'll never forget. And I'm going to keep this anger burning in me. And that's why I wanted to educate people about what they actually did to us. And it was never about health. It was about control. And it's still about control.
100%.
It's all about control. And then you get the people that are I think a lot of people in Kyle's position, where they're forced to get it, they get it, and then they're like, well, the rules apply to everyone. So everyone, so if they find out someone who's not vaccinated at their job or position, they're like, well, they're not vaccinated, they need to get vaccinated. I had to get it, they have to get it. It's this shared authoritarianism. It's the same thing with taxes up here. People get mad when you don't pay your taxes, but I'm like, dude, more power to you.
They made me get it. I work from home. It's bullshit. Like, who am I going to infect? You know what I mean? It's the most ridiculous. I'm not even in an office. Come on. The office was shut down, and then now they've made work from home permanent. So and it's like, why did you mandate this for everybody if I'm working from home? It's so annoying. But
BlackRock, very faint. That's why.
The OAR song.
Is that different from Biden? Never mind.
And I got COVID anyway, by the way. Two shots, and I still got COVID. And they're like, "Well, it would have been worse." And it's like,
that's
how do we know it would have been worse?
The
it might not have been
non-falsifiable.
It's not very. You said it was going to give me immunity. I was supposed to be immune from COVID because I was vaccinated, and I still got it. So clearly,
oh my god,
no immunity.
Did you guys see that video? I didn't realize. Who was it? Yeah, what is that? Oh my god, it's driving. Oh my god, hold on, I gotta find this video. Hold on,
Dr. McCullough.
No, it was a rap video. Oh my, Run DMC. There we go. Run DMC did a get your vaccine.
Oh yeah,
rap.
that was like 2 years ago.
When was that?
Do you guys remember the lyrics to it?
No.
No, but let's pull it up.
Someone on Facebook
I need
just
to
posted
see
it.
this. I need to see
It is
this.
so awful and cringe, and it's all lies. Like, I cannot believe it's not fact checked because it's straight up full of lies, and it's full of all sorts of like woke bullshit and like all sorts of like this.
Is it the most recent? Did they do a recent one, or is this the old one?
This is the old one. I had never seen it. I was told it came out.
Oh, you never saw it? Came out? No, I'm surprised we didn't even talk about it on the podcast. Here, hang on.
Maybe we did, but I got holes in my brain, so I don't remember.
Yeah. Here, I'll put it in the chat right now.
I was worried about that Mises takeover.
Yeah, this was.
Attention.
Yeah, Kate, I can't. So this was DMC from
Run DMC.
Yeah, and so he was paid to take this to do this video, and this is the level of propaganda and psyops, and that's so sad. Like, I've totally lost respect for these sellouts.
Play this. Turn it up and play this. This is terrible.
I got the vaccine, you got the vaccine, they got the vaccine, we got the vaccine. We can get back to normal, let me inform you, let's all get the vaccine. It's about community immunity. I'm talking unity for you and me.
Unity.
Listen.
Trust me, it's good. Now let's all get the vaccine.
Wow.
There is none higher.
This is cringe.
DMC, I will inspire. Time for us to trust and not debate. The vaccine, believe it's safe to take. 9 out of 10 people
just trust and don't debate.
Look, we gotta put some Tuskegee stuff on
this
here.
COVID thing is real, and it will find you. It's killing out people.
Listen.
Let me remind you. Back in the days, there was polio, smallpox. Back in the days, measles and mumps, man. Back in the days, but because of the vaccines, none of those days. Vaccines, they work.
So embarrassed.
Immunity. 2 shots, we got antibody security.
2 shots.
We gotta act now. No need to wait. Get your vaccine before it's too late. For real.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. That was like a year ago.
So
that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I
Did you say
missed
it was
that.
Run
I wish you
DMC?
hadn't showed me that.
That was
It's Daryl from Run DMC.
How come it doesn't have that disclaimer at the bottom, like this contains misinformation?
Misinformation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. Oh my god! And then like they have to tell people like, oh, it's affecting black people more than white people.
Well,
in that newspaper. If you read that newspaper, he's holding up. I'm like,
because
what?
The reason it doesn't have to say that on there is because it's the
Pro-regime.
end goal is good. So
Yeah.
even if it's not correct, because this outcome is good,
By
they
any
can
means
just ignore
necessary.
it.
And justify means, yeah, exactly, dude. It's
it's pro-vaccine. That's yeah.
yeah,
They
state
didn't
approved.
they didn't stop anything that was pro-vaccine.
dude.
But
how
any
cringe is that?
questioning, any discussion, I mean, Dr. Drew's a guy I listened to, and he was been censored from YouTube multiple times for just bringing up medical concerns, valid medical concerns.
By the
And
way,
he's
boring
getting
ass
taken
medical
down.
concerns. Like his stuff he was bringing up during the peak of this wasn't even like crazy rebuttals. It was just like soft stuff, like, hey, maybe we should wait a couple weeks, things like that. Not even like trying to get rid of the whole system in its entirety. Just real
like a
rational
doctor.
response.
Like a doctor, actually, like maybe thinking about it for half a second.
Well, you said
Right.
you said the dangerous part there, thinking for yourself.
Yeah, that's
We don't need
Can't
any
do that.
debate, like the rap video said. No debate.
No debate.
It's
Yeah.
safe.
Just trust.
It's safe. You know, and meanwhile, these pharmaceutical companies, you know, they sold all these doses to the government, right? They didn't do this for free. They all got paid. Big bucks.
$8 billion.
And we
Right.
signed a waiver. I don't know if you guys signed it too, where we can't sue them. Like
Well,
our
yeah.
government signed
Well,
a
we
waiver.
didn't sign it. The government did.
Yeah.
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 I'm
We're
like-
going to sue them in government court. Yeah, I mean, the government's going to be like, nah.
Hospitals were incentivized not to run through the VAERS system. Like
yeah.
the numbers on this are so insane, and we don't even have an accurate count on them because most people weren't keeping track.
Yeah, and you never will because they don't want this stuff out there. They just want you to keep getting vaccinated. They got stores of it now. Like even the radio station I was listening to today. I was listening to Sports Talk. It's the same one Alex listens to, but his is Philly. I'm DC, and it's owned by the same company. And they're
CBS. It's like CBS affiliate.
It's CBS affiliate, which is now Odyssey. So they are brought to this. They literally say this in the promo. So like they'll do like the sports top of the hour news thing, and they'll say brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer, and you're like, okay, whatever. And then at the end of they read like the sports news of the day or whatever. They'll say, oh, it's time to get your vaccine. Sign up to get, find your local spot and get your vaccine today if you're qualified for a booster. And like it's all brought to you. It's just.
But wait a minute, isn't that a vaccine for a non-dominant strain of the virus, so it doesn't do anything? Period.
We'll eventually get those out.
Well, we got to get in line. We got to get in line for our monkeypox now. This video was taken up in New York City. And
well, you don't have to, Alex. Only I do.
Oh, that's right. Gay and bisexual men.
Is there good audio on this, or is it just
never mind. So we won't play that. But let me pull up. I gotta find it. I'll pull it.
Is it bad that I can look at that line and go, yeah, that's a line of gay men?
Dude, it was 2 fucking blocks long, or one.
Oh yeah, I see Otto in there too.
So have they already got a vaccine for monkeypox?
I didn't even know they had a vaccine.
They've always had one.
I must have missed that. I'm sure it would be mandated by the time I get back to Australia. They'll give it to me as soon as I get to the airport to let me back in.
Well, the thing is it's only translated, or only transported by homosexual men is the idea.
Oh, well, I don't identify as a homosexual man, so that means I don't have to get it, right?
Well, none of us are biologists, so
there's still time. Don't worry. You'll be around American liberals all day.
Weren't they saying homosexual and bisexual? Which means if they're bisexual, then what about their female partners? Are they not? Are they not?
You've had too much to think.
No, I'm pretty sure they do. They just don't think it spreads to women. To be honest.
Oh, really?
Yay! Finally, something that my gender doesn't have to worry about.
Wait, your gender?
Wow.
What kind of bullshit is
just
that?
Triggered me. I'm triggered.
Like you could. I've been assuming you're just a person. I didn't know you're a woman. You could be a man.
No, I
America, you can be a
as
man.
a woman. I identify as a proud non-feminist woman.
Because if you change your mind on that by the time you get back, you will have to get it.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Well, and it comes like now. I think there was a news story came out on the 15th, which was the Friday, saying that New York Times was reporting on women's menstruation abnormalities from people who got the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
we've been saying since day one.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh God, I sent it out to all the people who are like, that's just a crazy conspiracy theory. Like, really? Well, now your approved media is agreeing with what I said 6 months ago.
On a long enough timeline, Alex Jones is always right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and they were gaslighting us because I have a lot of female friends who experienced issues with that. And they went to the doctor and they're like, oh, no, it's nothing to do with that. No, it's definitely nothing to do with that. You must be really stressed. And
yes, and 30-year-old soccer players dying all over the fucking planet that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they're gaslighting us with all these ridiculous articles and headlines like, oh, gardening, putting your hands in the soil could bring on heart attacks, or stress while you're exercising could cause heart attacks. Like
11-year-olds have been having heart attacks for ages. You just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, myocarditis. Yeah, that's totally a thing. Like,
dude, when insurance companies are actually changing their policies and that's flown under the radar. I think it was Lincoln Financial Group has changed their life insurance policies based on these statistics that are coming out. And so, and nothing has changed since the mass vaccinations. So just saying.
Well, wasn't I the one who said it in the beginning though? Like how do I know that this is bullshit? One thing and one thing only. Not a single fucking insurance company mandated you get it.
Right.
Because if it had any effect on outcome of life, they would have mandated you had to, and none of them did. So it certainly wasn't changing their actuary tables.
So here's the monkeypox news report out of NYC. It was a local, and yeah, to Kate's question, and that's the thing in this fucking news report, they don't even talk about the vaccine. Like, I didn't even know there was a monkeypox vaccine. They don't even explain what the fuck monkeypox is. But you could get in fucking line and go get it. Like this report, I stumbled across it on Twitter the other day, and I was just.
How many deaths have there been globally from monkeypox so far?
I don't know. Like, we don't know anything about it other than
0.
It seems to pop up a lot at gay brothels and nightclubs, and like, I don't know. It's insane.
No kink shaming. Okay. No kink shaming.
I mean, hey, do whatever you want to do, but it just seems like, I don't know. It just seems like some sexually transmitted disease that we shouldn't be really worried about. But Jared, did you pull it up there? It's the last one I put in there. But yeah, this is a New York City local news report, and they're lining up, getting jabbed. There's health clinics popping up.
Even after the way they were treated in the 90s by Fauci.
Yep. Right. Hey, remember the AIDS epidemic? Remember AZT? Yeah, trust the science, gay men. Like, this is going to work out really well.
Let's remember that video telling black people to go get vaccinated despite the Tuskegee experiment.
You guys hearing the audio?
Right. Oh, no. Go back, Jared. Yeah, we don't hear it.
Hold on. Try this again.
Technical difficulty. Stand by.
How long is this video?
It's just like a news report.
It's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, but
all right, we'll try.
But yeah, it's just
the health department is making a big push to get vaccines out.
That's right. Thousands of appointments are about to open up. So far, scheduling has been frustrating for anyone looking for the shot. Richard G. has more on how this rollout is
I'm
different.
so frustrated. I can't get my monkeypox vaccine.
Found it pretty simple to log on and get an appointment to get his monkeypox vaccine Thursday at a clinic in Harlem.
They're like, we have an appointment at 6:30. It's like, great. That's right after work. And I just...
Fabulous.
But it hasn't been so easy for some New Yorkers who have accused the New York City Health Department of botching the monkeypox vaccine rollout. As monkeypox cases surge in the city, starting this Sunday, the health department has a new strategy to get jabs into arms.
To protect people, and we need to get people information and prevention and treatment.
The city announcing 3 new mass vaccines.
Well, how do you prevent it?
I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. Like,
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Right.
When's
but
the
they don't
giant
even
year?
explain in that whole news report. They never explain, like, how is it contracted? Who's, nothing. Prevention. It's just get in line. They don't even explain anything. They don't even explain, like, hey, we just came up with this vaccine. Has it always been around? What is monkeypox? What are the symptoms? Who's at risk? Fucking nothing. It's just get the fucking line like a sheep and get your jab, get your pharmaceutical. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, and people are very quick to embrace it. People are very quick to ask for it. They're like, yeah, give me the shot. Give me my 4th or 5th booster, whatever it is. They want it.
Yeah. And their city, it's city funded. This is coming from New York City Health Department that's tax funded, brought to you by Pfizer and BioNTech or whatever. It's just fucking gross. Like, that money's being stolen from us. And they're these fucking assholes are killing us and like peddling poison, fucking legalized drug dealers. It's fucking disgusting. Like, but I digress.
What's crazy is it's like the exact opposite of the thing that they do with environmentalism, whereas they never talk about the negatives of any of the vaccines. Whereas with like fossil fuels, they never talk of the positives of fossil fuels. Like, oh wait, the entire modern world doesn't exist without them, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, speaking of not existing without it, it's the After Hours podcast. So you guys cool to stick around for the after? I know Kyle, you got a hard out.
You got a
I
field
have an
hockey game?
ice hockey game. Matt would say field hockey, but yeah, I've got an ice hockey game at 10:15 tonight p.m. Game starts at 10:15. So, yep, I'll be playing hockey.
Nice, man.
Oh,
well, good
boy.
luck,
Well, that's
man.
awesome. Well,
Thank
thanks for sticking on. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And Kate, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media and anywhere else?
I can stick around if you still want me to.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Or are you kicking me out?
Well, this is so we're gonna end the live stream now, and then we're gonna do the private after hours for
this
our
podcast is
Patreon
for the
subscribers.
peasants.
Yeah, this is for the takers. We call them the takers.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, Otto's a giver.
You can find me on Twitter. You can just search my name, Kate Fantinel, or Lady Liberty WAUS, like Western Oz. I'm on Facebook, Kate Fantinel Lady Liberty. I have a strong meme game. I use memes quite effectively in my campaign, and some of them, like, you might not get because they're like state or federal government issues in Australia, but it's worth checking me out on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, just Kate Fantinel. So yeah, thank you for having me on your show, and I'll keep up the fight for libertarianism in Australia, and I'll continue to be a proud punk rocker. So thank you.
Hell yeah,
Right.
we'll get into it more in the after hours.
Yeah, we got to talk about Milo goes to Washington.
I was waiting for you to ask what my favorite band was.
Yeah, you know what? Tell the people before we head out. What's your favorite
Blink 182.
Really?
Oh, so like a pop band. I get it.
Oh.
Well, we'll have to talk about this more in the after hours.
Like, even
Good
with
Charlotte's clearly the best punk rock band there
even
is,
with
so.
all of the cool bands Australia exports, that's where you go. Like, why not the Living End or fucking 12 Foot
I love
Ninja?
the Living End. They're sick too.
We might actually talk music in the after hours.
Yes, no, because we're gonna have to, because there's some whole bunch of stuff we didn't get to. You know,
all culture second half.
I also have a property rights unleash the police type of deal that's been going on in my local town. I want to talk about, get your guys' opinion about. But if you want to hear that podcast, you guys got to sign up for our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You get access to the whole backlog, a catalog of shows. You'll get to hear the after hours podcast, which we're going to record right after this one. And we have separate tiers and stuff like that. Sign up $10 a month, or I think it's still $10 a month for a free t-shirt. You know, please, any little bit helps us keep the light on in our anarchy collective basements, the proverbial anarchy basement. And if you guys don't like using Patreon, you guys go to prlfans.com and find other ways to donate to the show, like Bitcoin and our PayPal links. Also, we have t-shirts for sale over at libertariancountry.com. If you use the code PRL or PRL podcast, you can get a 10% discount. If you spend $50 or more and use the code PRL2, you'll get a 20% discount. So until next time, live free.
Or